Sup guys, Zonderson977 here today to do JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders episode 14 review. And this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's awesome. Love it very much. We finally get to see Enyaba, Centerfold's mother. She comes in there as expected, as was expected last week. We saw her crying and running and swearing revenge for her son's death. She takes the scene center stage and somehow, she seems to be in control of the town and its workings currently, at least for the time being. Her stand is revealed to be Justice. Rather, her stand's name is revealed to be Justice, and her stand is made out of fog, and it works pretty uniquely, not like the other stands that we've seen so far. This stand is a very unique stand, and it seems really powerful because, as we see in this episode, Hol Horse, that guy that ran off a couple episodes back when Centerfold was beaten, he was saved by a stand user, another stand user that was revealed to be the Empress, I believe, something like that. But he was saved by another stand user. He ran off and now he returned. And in my opinion, I believe that Enyaba getting rid of him already was a bad move on her part. She should have at least teamed up with him or tried to collaborate with him, and then when the job was done, get rid of him if you really so desire. But to just see him show up, he was a golden opportunity for them to help to try to team up against Jotaro's group, because keep in mind that both Hol Horse and Enyaba have the same purpose in mind, the same main set goal, which is getting rid of Jotaro and his group. Although Enyaba and her reasons are more personal and more emotional, but they still share the same goal. They want to get rid of Jotaro and his group, and she should have realized, put a handle on her emotions in a sense to get rid of Jotaro and his group, and then afterwards if you want to get rid of Hol Horse, fine, but she didn't do that. She has now decided to get rid of Hol Horse off the bat, right? This is how we see her stand ability and how it works. She uses the knife to stab him and inflicted a wound on his arm, and then from that wound her stand Justice, which is a stand made up out of fog, it sucks up the blood from the wound. That is why when Jotaro and his group first came into village and they saw that guy with a bunch of holes in his body, and there were big gaping holes, but at the same time there was no blood coming out from it, that's the reason why it was actually her that killed him, as it's now revealed. Her stand Justice sucks up all the blood from the fog. It sucks up into the fog, and then she's able to actually control you, right? Her stand Justice uses that kind of connection that it has from the wound in your hand. It uses like a puppet, right, to control that body part that it will be connected to. So it uses that to control the body of Hol Horse, and was using it to fight against him, as we see at one point. She used it to stick Hol Horse's hand into his mouth, like trying to suffocate him, but then he tries to use his own stand Emperor to shoot. But what happens, right? And this is the big mistake with Hol Horse. He tries to use his stand the Emperor on the same exact hand that Enyaba is using her stand Justice to control his hand. If he was going to use that gun, that stand that he has, that stand that he has Emperor, he should have used it on his other hand, his left hand, not on his right hand that was already being controlled. So all Enyaba did was control the same hand and shoot the gun right back at him, and boom, he shot himself. So he is supposedly out of the picture. And with Hol Horse gone, we can safely assume that all of the enemies sent after Jotaro by Dio, all of the stand users sent after Jotaro and this group by Dio to get rid of Jotaro has now all been dealt with, except for Enyaba herself, and we will see how this eventually plays out. But I believe she made a very big mistake getting rid of Hol Horse so early, getting all emotional and deciding to be off with him just because he ran away from her son. Sure, you might have a grudge against him, but she should have just waited until they did their job, then get rid of Hol Horse, right? Afterwards. So I believe that's a blunder on her part, and it may actually come back to hurt her in the end. She, as we've seen with the other stand users, Jotaro and this group, they've been progressing along pretty fine. Well, somewhat fine. They've lost Abdal, but for the most part, all of them are still there, and they are progressing along finally onward towards Dio. They are now in Pakistan, in this town, and it seems to be entirely controlled by her stand, the Justice, which, as we come to, as it's been revealed in this episode, is a stand made up of fog. So that thick fog that we've seen in this entire town since they've entered, it's because of Enyaba's stand, the Justice. So on another note, right, it's a girl Anne that has been following Jotaro and his group all along. She's now been sent on her way back to return to her own family. And we see that right before she leaves, she's looking for Jotaro. She even says that she would like to see him one last time before she leaves off. And she got her wish. Jotaro was walking up beside the plane right before the plane flew off, and right before it flew off she said her goodbyes. So right there's a confirmation that their friendship in a sense have grown. Initially when they first met each other, Jotaro typically when approached by females he will just ignore them and shrug them off. In fact, he calls his own mother a bitch. So typically his relationships with females that we've seen in the series thus far hasn't been all that well, and Anne on the other hand seems like to be a tomboyish type of girl, but over time she's eventually softened up to Jotaro, and I believe it's the same likewise for him as well. He's softened up to her, and that's a good friendship that seems to be developing. What role she will eventually play in the future, we will eventually see what happens or what turns out. But I believe it's pretty significant in the story for Anne to get involved up to this point at least. So that's just my hunch that she will somehow eventually come back and play a pivotal role in Jotaro and his group for the goal of getting to Dio and returning Holly from the sick condition that she's in. So right at the end of this episode we see Polnareff, right, of all the commotion of Enyaba fighting Hol Horse. Polnareff heard the noise, he was in the vicinity and he decided to come down, and in fact right at the point where he would come down and see Hol Horse's body on the ground with Enyaba right there, before he got a glimpse of the real action, Jotaro and his group, Jotaro, Kakowin and his father Jonathan, all came in at the same time and was questioning him. So Enyaba was pretty lucky right there. So next episode we'll see a continuation. He came down into the initial hall area and he's looking around. So we get the continuation of that next week with what happens. But so far I believe that this was a very good episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I liked it very much. It's an awesome episode in fact, and now that Enyaba is the last stand user from Dio's group to face Jotaro and to try to get rid of them, and now Enyaba has her personal emotional reasons because they killed her son. Now that she's the only one left, and the situation that she's been taken care of, what will happen next? Will Jotaro and his group have a clear-cut way towards Dio? We'll see what happens. But so far it's been progressing along nicely. Jotaro and his group have been progressing along nicely towards Dio, and it seems almost inevitable now, especially now that it's just Enyaba left, that they will eventually reach Dio. But when they do reach Dio, that's another thing by itself. So that's it guys, that's my review. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Sayonara.